What if I told you that something you could do tonight completely for free while you sleep could change the environment inside your body in a way that makes it genuinely harder for cancer cells to survive? And what if the science behind this wasn't fringe medicine or internet folklore, but peer-reviewed research coming out of some of the most respected institutions in the world, including Harvard, the University of Southern California, and the National Institutes of Health? I'm Dr. Mitchell Thompson, and in over 2 decades of practicing medicine, I've watched nutrition science evolve in ways that have genuinely surprised me. But few things have surprised me more than what researchers have been uncovering about a very specific metabolic window, 16 hours, and what happens inside your body right down to the cellular level when you go that long without eating, especially if you're over the age of 60. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share could genuinely be one of the most important things you watch this year. Now, before we dive in, I want you to do something for me. Think about the last time you skipped breakfast. Maybe you weren't hungry, or you were running late and you didn't eat until lunchtime. Without knowing it, you may have already experienced some of what I'm going to explain today, because what happens inside your body during those hours of not eating is far more powerful and far more purposeful than most people realize. Let's start with something fundamental. Your body is always in one of 2 states. It's either in a fed state, where it's processing and storing energy from the food you just ate, or it's in a fasted state where it has used up that immediate energy and has to find another way to keep you going. Most people in the modern world, especially here in the West, spend almost all of their time in the fed state. We eat breakfast, we snack mid-morning, we eat lunch, we grab something in the afternoon, we have dinner, and sometimes we eat again before bed. Our bodies barely get a break. And here's why that matters more than you think. When your body is constantly processing food, it runs primarily on glucose, which is the sugar derived from carbohydrates. In cancer cells, this is the critical part. Cancer cells absolutely love glucose. In fact, one of the hallmark characteristics of cancer cells, something researchers have known about since the 1920s thanks to the work of German scientist Otto Warburg, is that they consume glucose at a dramatically higher rate than normal healthy cells. This is called the Warburg effect. And it's so reliable that doctors actually use it in diagnostic imaging. When you get a PET scan, they inject you with radioactive glucose. And the brightest spots on the scan are the areas consuming the most sugar, which are often tumors. That is how hungry cancer cells are for glucose. They are essentially glucose addicts. So here's where fasting enters the picture. And this is where things get genuinely fascinating. When you stop eating for an extended period, somewhere between 12 and 16 hours, your blood glucose levels drop significantly. Your insulin levels, which are the hormone responsible for shuttling glucose into cells, also drop, and your body begins to make a critical metabolic switch. Instead of burning glucose for fuel, it begins breaking down fat into molecules called ketone bodies, and it starts using those ketones as its primary energy source. Normal healthy cells adapt to this beautifully. They are metabolically flexible. They can run efficiently on ketones. But cancer cells, many of them cannot make that switch. They are so dependent on glucose, so locked into that one pathway, that when glucose becomes scarce, they find themselves in a state of genuine metabolic stress. Now, I want to be very clear with you, because I always believe in being honest with my viewers. Fasting is not a cure for cancer. I need you to hear that it is not a replacement for chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, or any treatment your oncologist recommends. But what the research is increasingly showing is that creating this low glucose, low insulin environment in your body may make it harder for cancer cells to thrive, and in some cases may even support the effectiveness of conventional treatments. And for healthy individuals who are concerned about cancer prevention, which should be all of us, this is an enormously powerful piece of information. A landmark study published in the journal Cell Metabolism found that prolonged fasting essentially forces the body to clean house at the cellular level, and the mechanism behind this is something called autophagy, a word that comes from the Greek meaning selfing. Now, don't let that sound alarming. Autophagy is actually one of the most beautiful and intelligent processes your body performs. Think of it like a cellular recycling and cleaning program. During autophagy, your cells identify damaged components, dysfunctional proteins, and critically potentially precancerous cells, and they break them down and either recycle the materials or eliminate them entirely. Your body has been doing this quietly in the background your entire life. But here's the thing, it only really kicks into high gear when you're in a fasted state. When you're constantly eating, insulin stays elevated, and elevated insulin suppresses autophagy almost completely. You are essentially hitting the pause button on your body's most sophisticated internal cleaning system every time you eat. Research from Dr. Walter Longo at the University of Southern California, one of the leading scientists in the field of fasting and longevity, has shown repeatedly that fasting triggers a profound regenerative response in the body. In animal studies, prolonged fasting not only activated autophagy, but also caused the body to begin clearing out old, damaged, and potentially dangerous cells, while simultaneously stimulating the production of new healthy ones. Dr. Longo's work has been so compelling that it has spawned clinical trials looking at fasting in combination with chemotherapy, and early results have been genuinely encouraging, suggesting that fasting may actually help protect healthy cells during chemo while leaving cancer cells more vulnerable to the treatment. Now, for seniors specifically, and I want to speak directly to those of you who are 60, 70, or older watching this information carries extra weight. Here's why. As we age, our bodies naturally become less efficient at performing autophagy. The cellular cleaning process slows down, damaged cells accumulate more easily. Inflammation, which we know is one of the primary drivers of cancer development, tends to increase with age, in a process scientists have actually nicknamed inflammaging. At the same time, older adults often have higher baseline insulin levels and reduced insulin sensitivity, which means their bodies are spending more time in that glucose-rich, cancer-friendly environment, even between meals. 16 hours of fasting addresses all of these issues simultaneously. It lowers insulin, it depletes glucose, it activates autophagy, and it reduces inflammatory markers throughout the body. This is why researchers are paying such close attention to intermittent fasting, specifically in older populations. Let me walk you through what actually happens in your body hour by hour when you begin a 16-hour fast, because I think understanding the timeline will help this really click for you. In the first 4 hours after your last meal, your body is still digesting and absorbing nutrients. Insulin is elevated and glucose is being distributed to your cells. Nothing dramatic is happening yet. Between hours 4 and 8, your blood glucose begins to fall. Insulin starts to come down, and your liver begins releasing stored glucose called glycogen to keep your energy levels stable. You may start to feel slightly hungry, but your body is managing just fine. Between hours 8 and 12, glycogen stores are running low. Your body starts mobilizing fat. Fatty acids begin entering the bloodstream and heading to the liver, where they're converted into ketones. Autophagy is beginning to stir. Insulin is now at its lowest point in hours. And then somewhere between hours 12 and 16, something remarkable shifts. Ketone levels in the blood rise measurably. Autophagy is now in full activation. Growth hormone levels, which are critical for tissue repair and muscle preservation, actually spike significantly during this window. Some studies showing an increase of over 1,000% compared to the fed state. The cellular environment has fundamentally changed. And for cancer cells whose survival depends on a constant supply of glucose and a supportive hormonal environment, this is genuinely hostile territory. A study published in the prestigious journal Nature Reviews Cancer highlighted that the drop in insulin-like growth factor known as IGF-1 that occurs during fasting is particularly significant. IGF-1 is a hormone that promotes cell growth and division. And while that sounds like a good thing, elevated IGF-1 is actually associated with increased risk of several cancers, including breast, colorectal, and prostate cancer. Fasting, even intermittent fasting done consistently over time, has been shown to measurably reduce circulating IGF-1 levels. For older adults who are statistically at the highest risk for these very cancers, that reduction represents a meaningful shift in their biological risk profile. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Dr. Morgan, I'm 72 years old, I have diabetes, or I take medication, or I've been told I need to eat regularly. Is this safe for me? And that is exactly the right question to ask. And I'm proud of you for thinking critically. The answer is that while 16-hour intermittent fasting is safe for the vast majority of healthy adults, anyone with diabetes, anyone on blood sugar lowering medications, anyone with a history of kidney disease, or anyone who has struggled with disordered eating absolutely must speak with their physician before attempting any form of extended fasting. For diabetics in particular, dropping blood sugar without medication adjustments can be dangerous. This is not a program to start on your own if you're managing a complex health condition. What I'm sharing today is educational information that should inform a conversation with your doctor, not replace it. For those of you who are generally healthy and curious about how to actually implement a 16-hour fast, let me give you a practical framework that I often discuss with my own patients. The simplest approach is what many call the 168 method. You eat within an 8-hour window each day and fast for the remaining 16. The easiest way to do this, especially for older adults who often aren't hungry first thing in the morning, is to finish dinner by 7 in the evening and not eat again until 11ish the next morning. That's it. You're asleep for most of the fast. Your morning routine happens during the fast. You break it at 11 SAU with a nutritious, balanced meal, and then you eat again in the early afternoon or at dinner. No extreme calorie restriction, no bizarre supplements, just a consistent eating window. The foods you eat during your eating window matter enormously. Of course, a fasting protocol built around ultra-processed foods, refined sugars, and empty carbohydrates is going to undermine much of what you're trying to accomplish. When you do eat, focus on whole foods, plenty of colorful vegetables, quality protein from sources like fish, legumes, and eggs, healthy fats from olive oil, avocado, and nuts, and complex carbohydrates from sources like sweet potatoes, quinoa, and whole grains. This combination keeps blood sugar stable, supports the metabolic benefits of the fasting window, and gives your body the raw materials it needs to carry out all that cellular repair we talked about. And here's a surprising fact that many people don't know. Even black coffee and plain tea during the fasting window do not significantly break a fast in terms of the metabolic and autophagy-related benefits. They don't spike insulin meaningfully. They don't stop autophagy. So if you're someone who genuinely needs your morning coffee, you don't have to give that up to benefit from this practice. Just keep it black or with a very small amount of unsweetened additions. There's also an emerging body of research looking at how fasting interacts with the immune system in ways that may have direct implications for cancer surveillance. Your immune system contains specialized cells called natural killer cells, or NK cells, whose job is literally to patrol the body and destroy abnormal cells, including early-stage cancer cells. Chronic inflammation, elevated insulin, and metabolic dysfunction all impair NK cell function. Fasting by reducing inflammation and rebalancing metabolic hormones appears to support immune surveillance. A study from the University of Chicago found that short-term fasting actually enhanced the cancer-killing activity of NK cells in mice. Human research is ongoing, but the direction is promising. I also want to briefly mention something called metabolic reprogramming because I think it captures why fasting is so much more than just a weight loss tool. When you fast consistently, you aren't just burning fat for a few hours and then going back to normal. Over weeks and months, your metabolism actually restructures itself. Your cells become more efficient at switching between fuel sources. Baseline inflammation drops. Insulin sensitivity improves. The hormonal environment of your body shifts toward one that supports cellular repair, longevity, and resilience. Researchers studying some of the world's longest-lived populations, the blue zones, have noted that many of these communities practice some form of natural intermittent fasting, whether through cultural meal timing, religious observation, or simply not snacking between meals. It appears that giving your body regular extended breaks from eating isn't just a modern wellness trend. It may be one of the oldest and most fundamental ways humans maintained health across a lifetime. So here is where I want to leave you today. The evidence is not perfect. Science rarely is. But the convergence of cellular biology, hormonal research, immunology, and clinical observation is pointing in a consistent and genuinely exciting direction. 16 hours of fasting creates conditions inside your body that are metabolically hostile to cancer cells, that activate your body's most powerful self-repair mechanisms, that reduce key cancer-promoting hormones, and that support immune function in ways that conventional medicine is only beginning to fully appreciate. For seniors, especially whose cancer risk is highest and whose internal maintenance systems have slowed with age, this is not information to dismiss. It is information to take seriously and to discuss with your healthcare provider. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to suffer through hunger or restriction. You simply have to pay attention to when you eat. Give your body the window it needs to do its remarkable built-in repair work and nourish yourself thoughtfully when you do eat. That is within reach for almost everyone watching this right now. If you found this valuable, and I genuinely hope you did, please take a moment to give this video a thumbs up. It helps more people find this information, and honestly, it tells me you want more content like this. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love for you to join this community. Every week I bring you science-backed health information designed specifically to help you make smarter decisions about your body and your life. And if you want to go deeper on this topic, I have a video coming up very soon about the specific foods that work synergistically with intermittent fasting to further support your body's natural cancer defenses. You are not going to want to miss that one. I'll see you there.